So welcome and thank you so much for joining me again today. Today we are going to make a fabulous minted Moroccan pilaf, and of course the focus is on whole grains. Last week when we were together we talked about how to add in more vegetables. We're going to carry that theme forward, but this time working on adding in a variety of whole grains. Why, you might ask? Well, our bodies rely on whole grains to keep us full. That's carbohydrate is our energy source, but they're also a great source of fiber and kind of an overlooked source of protein. So we're going to start this recipe with almonds, although this is not a whole grain. I've got some sliced almonds here that I want toasted for a garnish on top. I'm going to add them to the skillet so that they can go ahead and toast while I talk about a few whole grains. Now, as you toast your almonds, again, you want this over a medium-low heat. You don't want this to happen too quickly because they really get toasty fast. And the last thing you want to have happen is for them to burn. So take it slow and low when it comes to toasting the almonds. In the meantime, I can start gathering in a few of the other ingredients. This particular recipe, you've probably already looked at the ingredients and how it comes together. It calls for zucchini, but when I went to the store, they did not have zucchini, so I opted for yellow squash. And I'm actually quite excited by this because this actually is going to be a beautiful golden dish. It's going to have turmeric in it, which is going to add a nice golden color. And then with the yellow squash, I think it's just going to be a really beautiful presentation. So with the squash, I'm first just cutting strips like so, and I'm just going to cube that. We need about a cup of this for the recipe. I'm making a half batch, so I'm going to use probably closer to a half cup. Looks like I definitely have a little extra here. So with that being said, I'm going to put some of this into a dish right over here and set it aside. In the meantime, squash is cut, and I want to prepare the peppers. Again, your recipe called for red bell peppers, and since I kind of got inspired with this golden, totally golden dish, I'm opting for these golden little mini sweet peppers, and I think they're going to add a beautiful touch. You could opt for the red, of course, and I've got a nice variety here with the peppers, but I just think the monochromatic multi-tones of the gold are going to be super beautiful. So as I cut these and prepare them for the actual recipe, I'm going to make these small rings with these sweet peppers. Again, when it comes to texture, I think this will add a super nice touch. Again, do want to watch your nuts and make sure that they get toasty but not burnt. So as I cut the peppers, I wanted to share with you a couple of the other ingredients that are going to go into this dish. The recipe that I shared with you calls for barley, and I like the idea of choosing barley because barley is very characteristic of Moroccan cooking, so it's very often used in recipes, and I thought that was a nice trait. Some of the interesting things about barley: per quarter cup dry, it's going to give us about 16 grams of carbohydrate, about 2 grams of protein, but what's significant is about 5 grams of fiber, so very impactful when it comes to fiber. All right, I'm checking out my sliced almonds. They're looking a little bit golden, and I just wanted to see, I thought I saw somebody coming into the meeting, but they are not. They're looking nice and golden, so I'm going to transfer them just off to the side. Luckily, it's not too hot. If this is too hot for you, you could have used a little spoon for the transfer. Set that aside for a beautiful garnish. In the meantime, turning up the heat, because this needs to cook about medium high. I'm going to add just a touch of olive oil to get this started. To the olive oil, I have already minced some garlic, so I'm going to add that. And the nice thing about mincing garlic in advance is some of the components that are active in garlic for helping lower cholesterol become more active, or actually activated, when they come in contact with oxygen. So this is really good. All right, to this, I'm going to add a half cup of onions. Again, I did cheat and pre-chop, so add those right in. And the squash that I just cut. And the peppers. And that's our presentation here, but I'm going to actually cover this and let it do its thing. You just want these vegetables to get nice and tender, not necessarily soft and mushy, unless you like them that way. All the nutrients are going to be in the skillet, so we're not going to be draining off any of the liquid. So what nutrients do cook out are going to stay there. Let this warm, it's doing its thing. In the meantime, I do want to share with you what I am going to use as a grain. I opted for bulgur, and this is a broken bulgur grain. It's already pre-cooked here. What it looks like dry is this, and like I said, I initially wanted to use the barley because it's very characteristic of Moroccan cooking, but so is bulgur. You might most recognize bulgur for its inclusion in tabbouleh, but it's a great grain because, again, very similar to the bulgur, it's going to have 160 calories per quarter cup dry, about 5 grams of fiber, 4 grams of protein, and when it calculates into the actual recipe, it winds up reducing the calories by about 10 calories and upping the protein just ever so slightly. So I wanted to share that with you because I thought that was kind of worth sharing. We're going to use the bulgur today. I think it's a great addition. I cooked it up in advance, super easy. Just boil it for about 10 to 12 minutes and it's done. You drain off any excess water and kind of fluff it with a fork and you're set. Aha, so that is what's next. The other things I wanted to share with you, again, very characteristic of Moroccan cooking, are the spices. And I included this gorgeous golden turmeric, which, as you know, if you've been following the posts in our Dig In, Eat Up community, this beautiful golden color is a great source and very indicative of antioxidants, and specifically phenols. And we can, we'll see this in saffron as well, that golden color is imparted. And these phenols are being studied more and more for their connection to fighting as well as preventing cancers. Second spice that's going to go in is cumin, a little bit darker, and you'll recognize this for its inclusion in chilies as well as Latin type cooking, where we often think of it as a Mexican flavor. And the big surprise is cinnamon. Very, very, very cool. So I've got a little bit of cinnamon here, and the unspoken hero, which is very small touch, is just a little pinch of allspice. So I'll be adding this allspice in when we get going with the spices. Ooh, I hear the vegetables sizzling, so I'm going to give these a quick stir. And I can smell the garlic, but these need to go just a few more minutes. So they are definitely not nearly as tender as I would like them. While those continue to cook, I'm going to go ahead and prepare the mint that is just absolutely going to make this dish. And I'm kind of partial because this mint came from my garden, so I'm extra specially partial to it. I easily could have used basil, or these would be the two that I would really most use. I guess you could use, no, those would be the two that I would really most use. So I'm going to add about a tablespoon of chopped mint. I wish that you could smell this mint because it's absolutely so aromatic. And in contrast with our savory spicing, this is just going to add such a beautiful fresh touch. So if this was basil and the leaves were a little larger, I would stack them, but since it's not, I'm just going to bunch them up and of course chop them with the knife here. And what I like about grain dishes is the versatility of them. So I like serving them first kind of plain and as is. So perhaps I might take my cooked bulgur one night and put it at the bottom of a stir fry. And whether I go with an Asian style stir fry, maybe Thai, or even Indian style, this would make a great base for that. With leftovers, I like to include the whole grain into kind of a mixture of like what we're making today, a pilaf. And then with whatever leftovers remain after that, whether it's in the form of a pilaf or whether it is still remaining in this plain form, I like to make patties. I know that sounds kind of funny, it's a little retro, maybe they go more by burgers, but you don't have to eat them like a burger. But I like to make kind of a patty that I can portion out, that will stick together, that can either be put between two pieces of bread, like in the form of a bun, or that can be put into bib lettuce, perhaps even serve as a base for building a, it's not a tower, but I like to use it as a base, and then on top I might go with a garlic sauteed spinach, maybe a few red pepper flakes, pile that right onto the grain patty at the end of the week. Or perhaps I go with a cooler version like an orange fennel beet salad that's piled onto the grain patty. Again, whether I use the pilaf as the base of the grain patty or the plain bulgur barley, this makes a really fun surprise and a great way to transition grains throughout the week. So you can cook a good amount of grain at the beginning of the week, but enjoy it 3 distinct different ways. To me, that's super exciting. All right, let's take a look here. Oh, yes, this is really coming together. The other reason I like covering the skillet is because all those juices from the vegetable are going to help steam, cook it a little bit more quickly, but also now take to the spices that we're going to add. So in goes the turmeric. Oh, gorgeous. In goes the cumin. Again, I wish you were here to smell this beautiful aroma. The cinnamon is next. Already my home smells amazing. And with the allspice, it just calls for a pinch, so I'm just going to take a pinch out of my spoon and set it aside. Wow, wow, wow. We don't think of whole grains tasting this creative and this flavorful, but this is going to be absolutely amazing. So to allow the spices to bloom or to become more aromatic and to incorporate into that touch of oil that we've added to maximize their flavor, I'm going to let this again cook for just a couple of minutes before I add the remaining ingredients. 2 things that I want to highlight that I have not highlighted yet. The recipe does call for some raisins. You're going to be adding, again, I went with the golden theme, so I've got the golden raisins. You could have chosen the dark raisins. You could have also chosen apricots. All dried fruit are very characteristic, again, of Moroccan cooking. So sticking with the theme, I will be adding the raisins, the bulgur, and I can't say that this is typical, but I just got inspired today and I thought I would add a few frozen peas just for fun. Peas, mint, to me, it just really goes together and I think is going to add kind of that fun touch and open the door for you to be just as creative at home. All right, that's been a couple of minutes. Setting that aside, let's give this a stir. Oh yes, the aroma is here. So in goes our bulgur. In go the raisins. And my special touch, the peas. Can't help it, just wanted to. I know it's a deviation. And finally, I'm going to retain just a few of the almonds for a nice garnish on top, but I want to add about half of them to the mix, so they're going to be in there as well. All you want to do is bring everything up to temperature, make sure that it's nice and steamy hot for when you serve it, but already, wow, you can see absolutely how gorgeous this is coming together. And I think my peas add a really nice touch. I made a half recipe here. And to me, this is just about right. I'm going to add a little bit of that mint so it gets incorporated as well, but retain just a bit for a garnish on top. Oh, again, I wish you could smell how gorgeous this aroma is. It would be just as gorgeous with the barley. I wanted to stick with one of the lighter grains, barley, or I could have even used quinoa, that would have worked. But again, I just wanted to also stay in theme with Moroccan style cooking and use something very characteristic of that style of cooking. Wow, look at that. Absolutely beautiful. We've almost got this completed. This is going to impress anyone who's sitting around your table, including yourself. And to the top, let's see, a couple pieces of mint. And I am definitely partial to the mint, so a few of those sprinkles that I retained for putting right on top. And finally, the toasted almonds that I retained for just a few decorative points. Wow, wow, wow. And what, we did this in 15 minutes. Not bad, right? Not bad. I think you're gonna love this.